Hello students, welcome to the second session of your second PUC NCERT chapter number 7, that is evolution. In the first session we had discussed regarding different types of theories which proved that how earth got evolved as well as how organisms have been evolved. We have studied about theory of special creation, theory of biogenesis, abiogenesis, nebula theory, and finally we did discuss about one of the famous experiment regarding how the earth was formed and our existence of life forms in the earth, that is nothing but the Miller's experiment. So in today's class we will be studying about evolution of life forms as well as some of the evidences which prove that evolution has taken place. When it comes to evolution of life forms, to define what is evolution of life forms, it is origin of species from a pre-existing forms which undergoes slow and gradual changes. Slow and gradual changes. So evolution we have already discussed in session number 1 that it means origin of life from already pre-existing forms which undergo reproduction. Evolution is not a single step change. It is a very slow process and a gradual process. It takes millions of years together to undergo evolution and produce a particular organism or a species of a particular kind, what you can see nowadays. That is what is evolution of life forms. To prove this evolution of life forms, there were different scientists who put forward their views regarding this one. Lamarck is a French naturalist who did put forward his theory based on two different concepts, one regarding principle of use and disuse and another was inheritance of acquired character. For example, principle of use and disuse theory means the more you use a particular organ, the well developed or the well evolved organ that will be there, and disuse means the one which you do not use or the organs which are very less used and less functional in your body, that will be evolved or that will be removed in the course of evolution. Inheritance of acquired character. Acquired character means it is learnt character, what you learn in your lifetime. This acquired character or learned character, that will be inherited. If you have learnt that in this generation, the next generation will have it inherited from parents. These two concepts were given by Lamarck for his evolutionary theory. These were simply theoretical but not proved practically. Next scientist is Charles Darwin. He did a voyage around the earth in his ship called HMS Beagle. To prove his evolutionary theory, he had a voyage around the earth in his ship. HMS Beagle is the name of the ship in which he had his voyage, and in his ship while he moved all around the world, he collected some of the evidences regarding the evolution. So his theory was purely based on principles of natural selection. Principles of natural selection. So according to Charles Darwin, when he had a voyage in his HMS Beagle ship, he did collect most of the evidences regarding evolution, and his principles or his theory of evolution was based on principles of natural selection. That means what? Nature itself selects the most suitable organism to survive in the nature, and organisms with less capability or lesser survival chances will be removed from the nature. That is about Charles Darwin principle of natural selection. This theory was clearly accepted because he did provide practical evidences for this evolutionary theory. One more scientist is Alfred Russel Wallace. Even Alfred Russel Wallace also did travel, and he did move to a place named Malaya Archipelago. So Malaya Archipelago is a particular region where Alfred Russel Wallace did his study regarding evolution, and to the surprise, most of his theory did match Charles Darwin's natural selection theory. Both Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace published their work in Linnean Society of London, which was approved regarding the theory of natural selection, as both of the theories were based on natural selection. In comparing Charles Darwin and Russel Wallace, Charles Darwin had more practical evidences compared to Alfred Russel Wallace. That is why Charles Darwin theory was completely accepted, and Charles Darwin was later called father of evolution. Charles Darwin was later called father of evolution. To discuss this once again, evolution of life forms means here the pre-existing or origin of new species from pre-existing forms which undergo slow and gradual changes. To prove this evolution of life forms, different scientists had different point of view, where Lamarck put forward his theory based on principle of use and disuse and inheritance of acquired characters. Charles Darwin, to prove his theory, travelled all around the world in his ship called HMS Beagle, and where he got evidences, that is practical evidences, to prove his theory, which was based on natural selection. And Alfred Russel Wallace, he did go to Malaya Archipelago. He also proposed his theory based on natural selection, and both of Charles Darwin as well as Russel Wallace did publish their paper or their theory in the Linnean Society of London, and finally Charles Darwin had more practical evidences based on which one he was termed father of evolution. So that is about evolution of life forms. Next we will study about different evidences regarding the evolution. The first evidence for evolution will be the fossils. So fossils means ಇದು ಹೇಗೆ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ in the sense, for example, if any organism dies or its print gets printed in the molten rock or soft rock or soil. If you see the earth crust, it will be having different layers of soil. So initially what might have happened ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, if the organism have died in this particular era, ಈ particular eraದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು organism ಸತ್ತು ಹೋಗಿದ್ರೆ, if at all the soil layers have formed one above other, and the organism might not have got completely digested by fungi or bacteria, andre pure or complete decomposition if doesn't takes place, then what will happen? The organism will be stored as it is in the sediments of the soil. It remains as it is without getting damaged. So during excavation or during digging process, what happens? You will get the organism as it is. Sometimes only prints will be there, sometimes even organism also will be available with its skin as well as skeleton. So this can be used for morphological or anatomical studies. So how did we know that there were certain dinosaurs or kind of dinosaurs which were available in Jurassic era? That is only because of this fossil kind of evidences what is available. Still in the sediments of the soil we can find different types of organisms which are not available now, which might have got extinct during the course of evolution, which might not be able to survive in change in the environmental condition. Once if you get the fossils of this organisms, you can do a comparative study saying that whether this organism belong to any particular kind of phylum. Maybe you can say that it might belong to Arthropoda, it might belong to class Reptilia or mammals. All these can be identified. How will you identify or classify them into different phylums or classes? That is based on their morphological studies as well as anatomical studies. So if you have the skeleton, you can identify, so the body might be like this. By addition of muscles and skin, the organism might have appeared in this form based on technologies which are available nowadays. So fossil is the basic evidence or the first evidences which prove that evolution has taken place. So second one is embryological support for evolution. According to a scientist, Ernst Haeckel, he told that embryo contains some of the embryo has some of the vestigial organs which become absent in adult. So, according to Ernst Haeckel, embryological support for evolution means that embryo which will be having different types of vestigial organs. Vestigial organs means those organs which will have reduced their size because of being non-functional in the body of the organism. So embryo will be having this vestigial organ, but when the embryo gets converted into adult, these will not have any particular vestigial organ. Once they become adult, this will be removed from the body. For this, he did give the example of gill slits which are used in fishes for respiration, which is absent in case of human beings. But later, this theory of embryonic support for evolution given by Ernst Haeckel was proved wrong, or the theory was disapproved because of one more theory which was produced or given by a scientist called Carl Ernst von Baer, according to whom embryo never passes the adult stage of any other organisms. I told you here that gill slits are present in fishes which are absent in animals. So here we are comparing a fish embryo with the adult human. That is what Carl Ernst von Baer told. It is false. None of the embryo of one species doesn't pass to the adult stage of any other species. That is how this theory or second evidence, that is embryological support for evolution, was not considered as an evidence and it was removed from the evidences for evolution. So next evidence will be homologous organ. So next is homologous organ. To define homologous organ, it means that here the organs will have similar origin but different function. Homologous organs means organs which have similar origin but differ in their function. So that is what is the definition for homologous organs. Some of them have different structures based on as they have different function. To explain this, we can take the example, animal example of forelimb. Forelimb means front legs. Forelimb in case of human, cheetah, bat. So here we have to explain homologous organ, we have taken an example of forelimb in case of human, cheetah, bat as well as whale. I told you that homologous organ have same or similar origin. That means all of them have similar types of bones. So in case of forelimbs, if you take human beings, here we have humerus, radius, ulna, carpals, metacarpals, and the fingers are called phalanges. The arrangement or the origin will be same in case of all the 4 organisms, but their function is different. When in case of human, we call this as, or the forearm is called hand, which is used in doing creative work like writing, drawing, etc. That is in case of humans. Whereas in case of cheetah, it is termed forelimb only, and it helps in running fast. So all their 4 legs are touched to the ground, and that is which helps them in running fast in the plane surface. Whereas in case of bat, you might have seen, this is the flying mammal, you might have seen that they do not have wings. Instead, they have a thin skin which is present between their abdomen as well as hand structure. This thin skin is termed patagium. Bats have a thin extension of skin called patagium. This is the one which helps in flying in the air. That is the function for bat. Last one will be the whale. So whales, they have a special organ which is called flipper. This flipper have same origin or same type of bones which is restricted to the forearm of human, cheetah as well as bat. But in case of whale, this flipper helps in swimming. So in together, all of them share the same origin, but there is a difference in their function. That is one of the animal example what you can give for homologous organ. One more plant example will be thorns of bougainvillea plant and tendrils of cucurbita plant. When it comes to thorns of bougainvillea, here the origin as well as in tendrils of cucurbita, the origin will be same. That is, they are both thorns as well as tendrils. These are the modification of the axillary branch, but function is different. The function of thorns is protection in case of bougainvillea, whereas tendrils in cucurbita helps in providing the support so that the plant can grow upwards. So that is about plant example for homologous organ. Homologous organs means organs which have similar origin but they differ in their function. Animal example was forelimb of human, cheetah, bat as well as whale, where we have studied that human forearm or hand which helps in doing creative work, whereas bat, it helps in flying, which have a special skin extension called patagium, and in case of whale they have flippers in the form of forearms which helps in swimming, and cheetah just a forearm which helps in running. In case of plant example, we have studied that thorns of bougainvillea and tendrils of cucurbita both have same origin, that will be axillary branch will be modified into thorns or tendrils, where thorns have a function of protection and tendrils have a function of support. That is about the second evidence which we call homologous organs. Homologous organs are also the evidences for divergent evolution or adaptive radiation. So these homologous organs provide the evidences for divergent evolution as well as adaptive radiation. You will be learning about this in detail while we study the further evidences. So that's about second evidence, homologous organ. The third evidence will be analogous organ. This is quite opposite to homologous organ. Analogous organ will be having similar function but different origin. When it comes to analogous organ or organs which have different origin and similar function will be the definition for analogous. To prove this analogous organ, we can give few examples. Animal example will be wing of bird and wing of insect. Now we'll come to the origin here. Origin I told, these are having different origin. When it comes to wings in case of birds, these wings are the modified forelimbs which help them in flying, and these modified forelimbs have skin, feathers which helps in protecting the wings as well as extending them and helps in balancing their body while they are in air. When it comes to insects, here the wing of insect is a non-living thing. That means it is made up of protein structures. If you cut the upper side of the wing, then the insect won't be feeling any pain. Only if you pluck it from the insect body, then the insect might feel the pain. Just how you have nails in your body, if you cut your nails, you do not feel the pain. In the same form, even in case of insects also, the wings are a non-living thing. These are simply called integuments, which are the extension of the thoracic region and helps in flying. So, in together, here both of them have similar function. Wing of a bird as well as wing of an insect helps in flying, where their origin is different. That means in case of bird, it is the modified forearm, whereas in case of insect, it is just the integument which have been extended or produced from the thoracic region. That is animal example. Plant example, if you see, sweet potato and potato. Sweet potato as well as potato have similar function, that is storage of food, but their origin is different. That means sweet potato is a root modification and potato, it is a stem modification. That means both have same function, storage of food, and sweet potato, it grows below the ground level and it is a type of root modification. Potato can also be seen below the ground level, but here it is not a root modification, instead it is a stem modification. So that is a plant example for analogous organ. Analogous organ means organs which have similar function but they differ in their origin. Plant example will be wing of a bird and wing of an insect, where the function similarity will be flying but the origin difference will be birds have modified forelimb which have been converted into wings, whereas in case of insects, these are the integuments which have been extended from the thoracic region. When it comes to plant example, sweet potato, it is a type of root modification, and when it comes to potato, it is a type of stem modification. Both of them have a similar function of storage of food. This analogous organ, it is also providing the evidence for convergent evolution. Analogous organs provides the evidence for convergent evolution. So that's about the third type of evidence, analogous organ. Next is convergent evolution or adaptive convergence. It means that attainment of similar types of structure or organs by distantly relative organisms. So for example, if you take flight in case of birds, insects, reptiles and mammals. Flight in case of birds, insects, reptiles and mammals. What did I define this? It means attainment of similar type of organs by distinctively related organisms. So birds belong to class Aves in case of chordata or vertebrata. Insects belong to arthropodas. Reptiles again come under chordata. Mammals also do come under chordatas. So here all these are distantly related but share a common function, that will be flight or flying. That can be taken as an example for convergent evolution or adaptive convergence. It means that attainment of similar type of organs by distantly related organisms. That is convergent evolution or adaptive convergence. Next one is vestigial organ. Vestigial organ, to define this one, organs which are reduced and non-functional in one of the organisms might be very much developed and functional in others. For example, in case of humans, we also do have this vestigial organ, that will be the wisdom teeth. Second example, appendix. Third example, coccygeal bones. In case of humans, we have a total teeth count of 32, where the 4 teeth will be coming only after a certain age. These 4 teeth in case of humans are not compulsory. That means these are the molars itself. If you have developed all these 4 teeth within the age of 21, it means that you have not evolved. If there is no development of these 4 teeth, then you are somewhere in the course of getting evolved. So that means what? This wisdom teeth is nothing but the molar teeth, and it is of no use if it comes after a certain age, because it does the same function what your molars are doing now. That is why this has been removed in the course of evolution. That is the first example of vestigial organ, wisdom teeth. Next is appendix. Appendix comes in the last part of your large intestine. The function of the appendix is to digest the cellulose. Initially, while we were, or our ancestors were restricted to live in the forest, they did not know how to cook. So while they used, or while they get this food substances without cooking it, they consumed them raw, especially the fruits, especially the vegetables and underground yams and all. While they consumed it directly, what happened? It contained a large amount of cellulose, and appendix had some of the enzymes which digest this cellulose. But later, as we got evolved, we discovered fire and we started cooking the food. While we cook the food, the cellulose gets break down in the vessel itself. That is why in the course of evolution, there is no use of appendic enzymes which are having the ability to digest the cellulose. That is why now in the large intestine of human beings, you can find that these appendix have become, which were larger ones, now have become vermiform or very minute structure. Last one is the coccygeal bones. Coccygeal bones are present at the end of the vertebral column, which are commonly called tail bones. The reason these tail bones were present initially because we were quadrupedals. Quadrupedal anta ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ 4 ಕಾಲಿಂದ ನಡೆಯುವಂತದ್ದು. Our ancestors were quadrupedals. Later what happened? Our vertebral column, which was bent, started to become straight, and from quadrupedals we became bipedals. 4 ಕಾಲಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೀತಿದ್ದಂತಹ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಇನಿಷಿಯಲಿ vertebral column in the course of evolution ಅಥವಾ ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಆದ ನಂತರ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಬಂತು? 4 ಕಾಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೀತಿದ್ದಂತಹ ಮನುಷ್ಯ 2 ಕಾಲಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ದ. ಸೊ ಅದರ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, quadrupedal ಇಂದ we converted ourselves into bipedals. Now we walk only with our 2 legs, and these 4 arms are used for creative works. That is why we balance our body with our 2 legs. What is the use of having tail in other animals? While they jump, while they run, it helps in balancing their body. But now in case of human beings, we do not require this tail to balance our body, as we balance our body with our 2 hind limbs or legs. That is why in the course of evolution, even the coccygeal or tail bones have reduced their size. That is example for vestigial organs. So that is about the evidences for evolution. First one is fossils, homologous organs, analogous organs, convergent evolution or adaptive convergence, vestigial organs. Next we will have to study about the evidences for natural selection. Evidences for natural selection is easily obtained in England before industrialization and after industrialization based on 2 colored moths. So there were two colored moths, one was white or light colored, another was dark or brown colored. So in case of industrialization, in case of England, before and after. So now for example, this is before industrialization, this is after industrialization. Now imagine that both the brown moth as well as the white or light moth, they were present in the barks of the trees. Okay. So before industrialization, the pollution was completely absent, and in the trees there were lots of lichens growing. Lichens are normally white or creamish in color. When the lichens are more in number, the white moths were camouflaged along with the white lichens. That means they can easily hide, because the lichen color and white moth color will be almost same. They can easily escape the predator. In the white background, if you see the brown moth, they are completely visible, because for light background, dark things are easily visible. The predators would target the brown moth, and automatically the brown moth number started to reduce before the industrialization. When it comes to after the industrialization, due to higher pollution, the lichens did not grow on the tree bark. So tree bark had lesser number of lichens. Automatically the tree bark color, that was brown in color, which started to emerge out. This brown color camouflaged the brown moth. That means they could easily escape from the predators. Now the background was dark and the moth easily appeared was light colored. So the predators would easily target the white colored moth. This is the evidence for natural selection after industrialization. For example, before industrialization, there were no pollution and the lichens were more in number, which covered the tree bark, which helped the white moth to camouflage the lichens, whereas the brown moth would be easily visible and were the targets of predators. But after industrialization, what had happened was, due to higher amount of pollution, the lichens number started to reduce. Once the lichen number started to reduce, the tree bark could be projected, which camouflaged the brown moth. In the lighter background, white moths were easily visible for the predators, and predators did target them. So before industrialization, the amount of brown moths were less in number and white moths were more in number, and after industrialization the brown moth population started to increase and white moth population started to decrease. This is one of the evidence for natural selection, that is industrialization in case of England. So that's all for today's class. In today's class we have studied about evolution of life forms, different scientists, different point of view, plus we have studied about some of the evidences like fossil evidences, embryonic evidence, but this was proved or disapproved by Carl Ernst von Baer, and homologous organs, analogous organs, convergent evolution as well as adaptive convergence, and vestigial organ, plus evidences for natural selection. In next class we will be studying about biological evolution and adaptive radiation and mechanism of evolution. Thank you.